a part of a nonprofit feminist bookstore and collective in Denver, Colorado. Our collective had a feminist lesbian news journal called Big Mama Rag. Because we supported revolution rather than reform in our newspaper, we lost our nonprofit status. Our case went to the Supreme Court. Google in Big Mama, Google, my son said don't say Google in because you sound old. Google Big Mama Rag. It's so very ironic to me every day that I stepped into the media largely because of this Supreme Court decision. I wanted to confront the media head on because I felt that the decision was wrong and extremely anti-democratic. My collective discussed going postal in the middle-class streets of Denver, Colorado on Lower Colfax Avenue. We discussed bombing a strip club there and liberating the naked woman mannequin that stood on top of the place. I'm not making this up. We were all shocked and frightened when we realized that we were living in Ronald Reagan's America and not Bobby Kennedy's America, as we had foolishly hoped and naively supposed. The ironic part is that this Supreme Court decision to, in effect, silence one of the main organs of the feminist movement in America, in my opinion, was the watershed case that became the slippery slope down which all freedom of the press in America slid into the deep, dark hole that brings us all here tonight. I decided to become a stand-up comedian instead of a weatherman-like activist. I decided to use the word domestic goddess when referring to a working-class housewife from great, a typical working-class woman's story to the mainstream media would be all the revolution America could handle. A lot of people related to and watched my show for nearly a decade. That was very gratifying to me and frustrating too. I thought that I would be interviewed as an artist and a creative force when my show was discussed in and by the media. Instead, every single time and without exception, when I was interviewed in the press, I was diminished and insulted, and only articles about my weight were published as if my fat were a sexual fetish of some political sort. I would be talking about class in America, and they would write about how the fat, sassy Barr munched a couple of brownies during our interview and is quite passionate and feels the lower classes are disrespected in television. At one point, after I began to lose my mind, I refused to continue the interview until the journalist used the term working class instead of lower class or blue collar. The hubris was unbelievable to me, and it still is. Around this time, I tried to make a lot of jokes about how full of shit everything in this country is, including the national anthem, but none but a few opera-trained beings can even fucking sing. And they cannot even remember the words, which make no sense at all to anyone who is not educated in the manner of English royalty. As a result of my ultimate social gaffe, I lost every business opportunity I had and was threatened with cancellation. Following in the footsteps of infamous feminist writers before me, I went completely mad and was hospitalized in several of the better mental institutions and heavily drugged in order to be able to continue the sitcom about a woman trying not to lose her mind in an insane world. After the sitcom family won the lottery and my character bought back the factory where she had lost her union job because of Fred Thompson, who played my boss, and which of course was never been once written about in any paper anywhere, and instead things are written about how I betrayed the working class I did a show about by having my character win the lottery. I wanted to continue talking about class in America, to do a talk show that raised issues that mattered to the class of people who watch television. After being assured by King World that I would be able to do shows on class and race and gender, I was fact-checked and warned about having outrageous opinions by a minimum of 20 lawyers per day. I'm not making it up. On the strength of the sales of my daily talk show for King World, touted as the new Oprah Winfrey Show and owned by Oprah Winfrey and King World, the King World Company bought CBS and then Viacom, and my show was not renewed when Miss Winfrey decided not to retire after all, and she and King World, Viacom, CBS, NBC, General Electric, the Pentagon, chose to produce Dr. Phil instead. So anyway, then I tried to get on the radio to tell the average Joe six-pack and hockey mom what was really going on with freedom of the press and the other threatened civil rights I knew were next to go. All of these things paled in horror, all of the above paled in horror. Next, you're trying to get on the radio in America with a left-wing, not a liberal, not a liberal Democrat point of view. I am now paying to have use of the airwaves. I am paying to have use of the airwaves that the citizens of this country own.
Amen.
They are not really allowed to be told on the radio that they own those airwaves, just like they are not allowed to know that their money is being stolen every day and their communal coffers plundered, because with the help of a fat, drug-addicted traitor named Rush Limbaugh, who is paid to be on the airwaves that the citizens own, and to tell them every day that people who say the things I say are feminazis and not on their side, and people who say the things that he says, namely to keep giving up their money to his friends with no questions asked and expect nothing whatsoever in return, are on their side. The bullshit named Clear Channel makes it sound like something transparently flowing and unpolluted, but in fact, it's another giant step towards totalitarianism. It's the same reason the dictatorial commies always call something the people something or other, because it hides the fact that the people are shut out. Clear Channel is Walmart, only worse, because they're not just cornering the garden hose, pantyhose, popcorn, pop music market. They're cornering the information market, and that means that people will only have one way to hear what's going on, and that is the very wrong rights way. Maybe I think sometimes, maybe I should have just bombed the strip club, but that's just a joke. That's just a joke. And maybe media reform can happen, but either way, I'm never going to stop doing what I do and saying what I say until they cry the mic out of my cold dead fingers or I go broke. And another person, I just want to say how much I idolize Cindy Sheehan and how honored I am to even know her or any other thing. I mean, the fact that somebody who has integrity and decency and moral backbone is even like, alive in this country at this time, it's just fucking so awesome and overwhelming. And I support her. I support her. I hope that the thousands of Cindy Sheehans, the only cloud I see and the only silver lining in this terrible cloud that threatens everything that anybody ever dreamed in this country. I hope that a whole bunch of Cindy Sheehan people will start running for office, and people who can't be bought, people who can't be broken, people who believe in liberty. And quoting Mary Daly, who's a great writer and a friend of mine who is in the hospital tonight at 80, who's always been a freedom fighter, she said, I love this quote, and I'll end on it: "There is no liberty without truth."
Yeah.